installed. So 3.5 inch or 3-inch PVC pipe, 3-inch diameter PVC pipe, went down into the grommet that I installed in the black water tank. Okay, so I got the all-weather caulking sealant around the edge of the outer edge of the top of the pipe, the PVC, and then I got a thin layer of butyl tape where the seal to the toilet sits. Here's the base of the toilet. So this is kind of like a rubber seal will sit where that butyl tape is, and then the T-bolts will go through these mounting holes, and from the top I'll tighten them down. So the toilet's installed. I'm really happy with the fit. It doesn't rock back and forth, which is good, which means it's seated really well against the floor. You do want to be careful not to over tighten the mounting bolts. I put the caps on them so you can't see the actual nut that connected to the T-bolt. But you don't want to tighten it too much. You don't want to force it to seat on the floor. If you force it, then you could break the base of your toilet, and you do not want to do that. That's the last thing you want to do. Okay, so if it doesn't seat, I recommend snugging it, coming back next day, see if you can snug it a little more. Okay, so like I said, you got to try to pre-fit everything. So when I put this down into the grommet, it's a little snug. 5-inch mark, which would make it even with the top of the floor, would be right there where the marks are. So it doesn't want to go down in there very easily, and that's good because you want a snug fit. So I'm gonna put a little vegetable oil on the pipe, and I also beveled the edge, the leading edge of the pipe a little bit. You can't really see it, but there's a little, I filed a little bevel, so I beveled the edge a little bit. Just make it easier to feed into the pipe that way. And no, this is not beer, it's vegetable oil. So I put a generous amount of vegetable oil around the pipe. And now we'll see how that works. And there you go. Yeah, works much better. So the vegetable oil trick, that really works. That does well. Don't get any up here though, because this is where my my coupling will fit. So I'll have to go get myself some PVC primer and cement, and we'll get this coupling on, and we'll aim it away from the top of the toilet. Well, that's about as tight a hole as that jigsaw wants to make right there. If it had to be any smaller than that, that'd be pretty tough. But it fits. It's pretty tight. I'll go inside now. I'll connect the last piece of the vent pipe that comes up through here, and then I will put some sealant around here as well before I put the cap on, and then we'll be done. The tape, by the way, is just so the bottom, the metal part of your jigsaw doesn't scratch the paint on your van. Some final piece of vent pipe is in. Put some sealant around the edges, and next thing I got to do is put this on. This is pretty cool. So I'll mount this just like I told you about a little while ago. And so this has these little caps that cover the screws. But anyway, you take these caps off, you back off on the screws, which I've already done, and then there's a little screen here that keeps bugs from going down in there, and all the stinky stuff comes out. So there you go. That's basically what it's going to look like when I'm done. So these screws that came with this roof vent, they call these self-tapping. That is not a self-tapping screw. And you might be able to push yourself through push it through a beer can, but the sheet metal in the van's a lot thicker than that. So I fall for it every time I try to push it. It doesn't work. Just so you know, this is a self-tapping screw. So the end of the screw actually looks like a drill bit. But what I like to do, here's a valuable tool here. It's a drill bit gauge. So I pick the smallest hole that the screw will fit through, and then I pre-drill a hole with a drill bit that's 2 sizes lower, or 2 sizes smaller. And when you do that, you know you're gonna, the screw will go through, the body of the screw will go through, but it'll still have enough meat around the hole for the threads to grab onto. So that's a tip there for you. Okay, inside black water vent. There you go. So there's the mounting screws on the vent cover. And that looks good. And it comes down here. It goes all the way down into the tank. Right there. So today I'm installing these gate valves on my black and gray water tank. I've already got the one installed on the gray water tank. So I'm getting ready to install this one here. So basically how it works is you take this cap off, you put your discharge hose onto this right here, and this is the gate. Once your discharge hose is connected and ran to the dumping facility, you open this gate and out comes all your waste from your black water or your gray water tank. But you have to hook this up. So I don't want to hook it up like this because I'd have to reach in. It's not the right angle. There's stuff in the way. I'd have to reach in under, probably have to lay on the ground like I am now to open the gate, and I don't want to have to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm installing this 90-degree elbow, and to do that I have to first connect it to the black water tank. So there's a little stop in here inside this discharge opening for the black water tank, and it's 1.5 inches deep till you get to that stop. There's the same stop on the inside of this elbow, which is also 1.5 inches deep. So you want to try to get full penetration if you can in both of these. So 1.5 inches plus 1.5 inches is 3 inches, and then I add 1 inch to make it 3.5 inches. So I make sure that nothing will stop me from getting full penetration, and the pipe actually, the end of the pipe actually butts up against these stops on both ends. Okay. And what I also do, since some of these fittings are a little tight, they're both kind of tight, but they need to be snug. They need to be snug, that's good. But I always take a bench grinder and bevel the edges, both edges here, so they at least feed in well to begin with. All right. So first thing I'm going to do I got to use the primer. This is PVC primer. You want to make sure that all your fittings are clean. And then you put on your primer. Get a good coating of primer. Primer dries really fast. So I put it on the inside of this outlet, and I put it on the outside of the PVC pipe. This is 3-inch PVC, pretty standard for a waste tank. You can go 2 inches with a gray water tank, but I didn't. I went 3 inches for both just to keep it simple. So this is dry already. It dries that quick, which means you're ready to put on your PVC cement, and you apply that just like you do the primer inside of this pipe. I also make sure I get it up against the pipe stop. And now PVC cement to this, and the PVC cement at first acts like kind of like a lubricant. It makes it easier to shove the pipe in, but it quickly hardens. So you got to make sure within the first 5 or 10 seconds when you're fitting this pipe to make sure you get it fully engaged as much as you can. So ready to push this in. And it helps if you twist while you're pushing it in. Just twist it. And boy, it gets tight quick. It gets really tight quick. Cement really sets in quick. Okay. And a moment of truth here. Okay, I got 2.5 inches, or I got 2 inches. 2 inches sticking out, which means it's fully seated. It's fully seated because it was a 3.5 inch PVC pipe, and I've got 2 inches sticking out. So that means 1.5 inches of it is inside the discharge line of the black water tank, which is the distance to the stop. So I'm confident this pipe is installed nicely. It's got a good fit. It's sitting up against the stop, and I can confirm that because I can reach up in there and it's hitting up against the stop. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. Now this one, I got to be a little more careful because I got to get the angle right. Got to get the angle right on this one. So there's no locking mechanism on these gates. So number one, I don't want to have the gate pointing down like this, because it could feasibly, as you go down the road, it could come open and then you got a waste leak. Especially if this cap also comes off, then you're going to have a waste leak. You don't want that. So you want it, up. This is why I can't put it on like this, because I can't get to my valve handle, and it's just in an awkward location. So I can't do that. So I'm putting this elbow on. The beauty about this is not only does it point the valve in the right direction for me, but I can adjust this as I put it on and make sure it's turned at the proper angle for me. To check the proper angle, I'm going to slide this on, put this up, and again I'll pull my handle all the way up, and make sure that I've got this installed at a good angle where my handle's not hitting anything underneath the van up here. That's a pretty good angle right there. Okay, that's a pretty good angle. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I like that right there. Okay. So if I was smart, I would have brought myself a pin where I could mark that. Let me go get one. Okay, since I like the angle, I've got right here, I've got to make sure I'm going to put a mark on the 90-degree elbow that matches up with the mark that I'm going to put on the little 3.5-inch stub out piece that I just glued in. Now I can take this off, and I do the primer thing. Make sure I got full coverage all the way around. And then put the primer on the inside of the elbow. Make sure you got full coverage. And again, before you put the primer on, make sure you clean with a rag, clean the pipes, make sure there's nothing on the pipes. You definitely don't want anything on either fitting, because it'll make it that much harder to get these on, and they're already pretty snug. So any kind of debris on it makes an even missed a spot. Missed a spot. Okay. So the primer dries almost instantly, but you could let it set for 30 seconds, a minute, just to make sure if you wanted to. So, but it dries almost instantly. Okay, now. As I said, the PVC cement not only binds the pieces together, but it also acts as a lubricant for installation, so it makes it easier for them to slide on to each other. Get some in here. I like to be real generous with the PVC cement. Better to have too much than not enough, especially on a black water tank. You don't want any leaks. Okay, here goes. So you can't play around when you're doing this, because I'll tell you, the cement sets up quickly. It's sliding on. Now I just need to get my marks lined up. There they are. And I tell you, much more than 10 or 15 seconds and you can't move that. You just can't. The cement just really sets up well. If I measure this, okay, I got about 3/4 of an inch of pipe exposed, a little stub exposed, which means this piece didn't quite go up to the stop. But I'm telling you, it's on there tight. But like I say, you can't play around once you start putting these two pieces together with the cement, because the cement just binds it so quickly. So you got to be ready, and you got to push it on, and like I said, twisting it as you push it on helps a lot. but you gotta get it done within really 5 seconds. 10 seconds is almost too much. So if you don't have it fully inserted within like 5 to 10 seconds, then you're not going to get it to go on any further. Now see, that's at a great angle right there. That's a great angle. See, make sure you can see this. That's a great angle. I can reach under here, grab my gate. The gate handle's pointed up, so there's no chance of it opening when I'm moving down the road. And when now this is a little loose, but I'm not too concerned about it. I could put some tape around here. I'm not sure if I want to do that or not. Let me try a little tape and see. Okay, so I had some white electrical tape here, and I put just one layer around here, thinking that would snug it up a little bit. It snugged up too much. I couldn't get the valve on, so I would rather. It's more important that I get full penetration on that fitting, rather than being over tight, and then I can't get it fully inserted. So we'll just leave the tape off. Not worried, because the PVC cement, if I lay it on thick enough, it'll definitely seal it. No problem there. So again, I'm putting the primer on first. Make sure you get the primer up against the stops. Although this distance here from the end of this elbow to the stop is more than from here to this stop here, so this won't hit this stop, but this will hit this stop in here, and that's as long as I got one of them in full contact, I'm good. Okay. Again, very, very generous with the PVC cement. For good bonding purposes, and for lubrication, to help you push this on easier. Okay. And we're ready, and I'm going to leave the T-handle up, so I make sure once I got it on here it's not hitting anything. Grab it back here, and here we go. Okay, it's fully seated. It won't go on any further, but it's still twisting, so that's how I know. Okay, that's about where I want it. Right there. Right there. So the T-handle is not hitting anything. Let's put this back a little bit. And that's it. So now I'll close the T-handle. And that's it. Officially, my black and gray water tank install is complete. And working underneath the van is kind of the same as working on the roof of the van. You want to make sure you bring everything you need when you go to work underneath or on top. inevitably you're gonna forget something. And I tell you, getting up and down underneath of the van or up and down from the roof, you do that more than 5 or 6 times and you're just flat out worn out. Your day's over with. So it's a good idea to make sure you bring everything with you when you go under or above. And here, so there's my bracing system. See, I really feel good about these tank installs. Anywhere the tank makes contact is only up against rubber, both tanks. So there's rubber. Well, I got these square tubes, as you see. So I've got rivet nuts up in the frame. I've got 1/4 20 all thread coming down through 1-inch square pre-punched tubing, and I've got these connections. They're double nutted here with a washer and lock washer, and they're double nutted here with a washer and lock washer. So you don't want these things coming loose going down the road. Now, regardless, I've got everything double nutted, and double nutted also locks it in. So you got the lock washer and the double nuts locking these in. Very little chance that these will vibrate loose, but you never can be too safe with waste tanks, black water tank, gray water tank. This is one of those items that you need to keep an eye on. So I try to make a mental note to, as we're traveling, to crawl under here once a month and just check all these connections and make sure they're tight, make sure they don't need to be tightened up more. But you see on the black water tank, so I got 3 of these support tubes, and on top of them I've got a 2x4, and on top of the 2x4 I got a 1/2 inch rubber. And then I don't think you can see it, it's too dark to see up top, I think. But on top of the tanks, where the tanks rest, the top of the tank rests on a support member. There's 3 support members pretty much directly above these supports, or structural support members for the van, and I have glued to those a strip of rubber also. So the top of the tank rests against rubber too. The sides of the tank actually rest against rubber. So both the black water and gray water tank, they only rest against rubber. They're not touching metal or any other material anywhere. So I feel really good about that. And you see across the way there's discharge for the gray tank. And that's it. A lot of work on these tanks, but they're finally done, and feel good about them.